Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, I'm bringing you guys Week 9 defenses to stream for fantasy football in 2020. In this video, we are going to be discussing 6 defenses that I think that you guys can find on the waiver wire and pick up to add to your team to get that big W in week number 9 of the 2020 fantasy football season. So real quick, before we get into it, I'd like to ask that if at any point inside of this video you end up enjoying, you end up having a great time, to please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, I put out content every single day to help you guys win that 2020 Fantasy Football Championship. And real quick, before we get into it, I'd like to give you guys a quick word from my friends and my sponsor over at Drafters.com. Drafters.com offers a variety of fantasy football games that you can join, but my favorite one to do on Monday night is the Rank'em. This week's Monday Night Football game tonight is the Buccaneers versus the New York Football Giants, and the best game here is the Rank'em. Pretty much all you have to do, you can see 1 through 10 on here and 2 reserves. The reserves are only for if the player ends up missing the game, obviously, so you can't change it out, or you forget to change it out, and it moves it in there. You can change it out all the way up until kickoff. Pretty much all you have to do is order them and who scores the most fantasy points, 1 all the way through 10. So say you think Brady's going to have an excellent night, you put him at number 1, and then second, you're like, you know what, I think Gronk's going to have an amazing game, and you put him at number 2. There's also a draft game, pretty much, which is like how you draft your fantasy football season, but it's just for 1 week only. You can check that out. Use code Notorious at checkout for a 50% deposit bonus up to $100 with a 10 times rollover on the bonus withdrawal. Check it out, drafters.com. And we are back. Please make sure to check out Drafters.com. Let's get right into it. Week 9 defenses to stream for fantasy football in 2020. We begin with the New England Deflatriots at the New York Football Jets. Now, I know what you might be seeing. This New England Patriots defense looks like a table in Buffalo. It gets absolutely ran through, jumped through, all of that. But at the end of the day, this week they get the New York Football goddamn Jets. And if I know one thing about the Jets, it's that they are absolutely atrocious. The New York Football Jets get manhandled on a weekly basis, and none of their games are even ever remotely close. Now, this is an in-division matchup, and the Patriots' offense does look like shit, which is kind of worrisome for the fact that they won't be able to keep the defense on the field, but they'll probably just run the ball a million times because the Jets' defense sucks so much that it should be very easy for the Patriots' defense to have a good week, even if they have looked so bad recently. The Patriots defense last week up against the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo had 1 sack, 1 INT, and 24 points allowed. So obviously those aren't some amazing numbers, but last week the Chiefs up against the New York Football Jets with a better defense, obviously though. 1 sack, 1 fumble recovery, and 9 points allowed. I think where you're going to get the bread and butter of your fucking points this week is going to be from the Patriots defense allowing no points up against the New York Football Jets. Now, I'm not saying that the Jets are going to put up a goose egg, but I don't think they're going to be able to score 14 or more points in this game to put you in a hole when you start the Patriots defense. Darnold just has not been playing well at all this season. He's been seeing ghosts, and if you guys remember, this is the matchup from last year where Sam Darnold originally saw those goddamn ghosts go across his field of vision and shit himself, and I think he's going to be very nervous this week up against the Patriots again. There may be a ghost sighting the time that they play this game, and I really don't believe in the Jets offense at all. Even if the Patriots defense has not been good at all, I think the Patriots defense is worthy of a start in fantasy this week. Next team, here's the Houston Texans going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, it's reported that Gardner Minshew, the mustache mania, Gardner Minshew is not going to be playing on Sunday. He apparently hurt something on him. He is hurt. And if you're listening to this on a podcast, I'm doing air quotes, hurt. I don't think he's hurt. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars realize that somehow Gardner Minshew is just going to win a couple of games, right? The guy just puts them in the position to win on a weekly basis, even if the team as a whole isn't very good. They're going up against the Texans, a team that they could easily beat because these are going to be a high-scoring game, or would have been a high-scoring game if Gardner Minshew was playing. Now, it's looking like old man Mike fucking Glennon is going to be the starting quarterback of the Jacksonville Jaguars this week. If you remember Mike Glennon, he's of the fame of the Bears quarterback that started before they booed him out of the stadium, and they let Kissin' Titties Mitchell Trubisky's era begin in in Chicago. So there's definitely a huge worry about the fact that Mike Glennon sucks so much cock. Even if the Houston Texans isn't very good, their defense is atrocious. Last week didn't get a sack, fumble, interception, didn't do anything. Like, no pressure to Aaron Rodgers. He was just in the pocket, just dissecting that defense. Rodgers hit him with the discount double check all game long. Obviously, the Texans didn't have a game this week. That's why we are diving into week 7's numbers because that's the last time the Texans had played a game. So week number 7 for the Jaguars, because that's the last time they played as well, because they have the same bye week, went up against the Jacksonville Jaguars went up against the Chargers at home in, not at home in Jacksonville, it was actually in LA, but this was not a very good game for the Jacksonville offense. And this is with Gardner Minshew. They're still allowing 5 sacks because the offensive line isn't that good. Fumble recovery, again, because the offensive line is not very good, and they're going to let the quarterback get hit, and 29 points allowed. I expect the 29 points allowed to significantly sink like the goddamn fucking Titanic because of how bad Mike Glennon is. If you guys want to figure out why I am just going in on this man named Mike Glennon, look up Mike Glennon playing fucking football. This guy doesn't look like he knows his lefts from his fucking rights. So go ahead here and pick up the Houston Texans defense this week. Next defense, here's the Washington football team going up against the New York football Giants. Now, the Giants have not played yet. As you guys are watching this, maybe on Tuesday, maybe they played. I'm assuming the Bucks bend them over and smack them 3 times in the ass, but I don't know if that's going to happen. Obviously, we know the Giants have a good track record up against Tom Brady. So the last time the Washington football team played football, because they had a bye this week, they played up against the Dallas Cowboys in week number 7. They had 6 sacks in that matchup, 1 INT, 1 safety, and 3 points allowed. Now I understand it's because the Dallas offensive line is a certified turnstile, so maybe you crank the sacks back, maybe they don't get a safety, but they're still not going to allow very many points considering the New York football Giants offensive line isn't very good as well, and Daniel Jones has not looked good at all. Is it because of him? It's probably because of the coaching, probably because of the offensive line, probably because Evan Ingram drops every wide open pass. That's probably it, but the Washington football team defense is the real fucking deal, and going up against New York, I think this is a great matchup for them. Last time, the New York football Giants had a game in week number 7, in the game where Daniel Jones was strutting into the end zone, apparently running at Mach fucking 7. Somehow, that was the fastest run thus far this season in the NFL. Daniel fucking Jones ran the fastest run in the NFL. That is impossible. I'm just saying I have no idea how they track these things. It seems like they're just... the guy's just running, and someone shouts out a number, and they just write it down and throw it onto the screen. I genuinely don't think they measure this stuff at all. It actually makes 0 sense to me. But with that said, Daniel Jones played all right up against the Eagles' defense last time that the Giants played, obviously besides tonight, but I have not seen that happen yet. The Eagles' defense played very good up against the Giants in Week 7. 3 sacks, 1 INT, 2 fumble recoveries, and only 21 points allowed. And in my opinion, the Eagles defense is not as good as the Washington football team, so we could see a very, very good game out of that Washington football team defense this week up against the New York football Giants. Next team to talk about here is the Arizona Cardinals going up against the Miami Dolphins. Now, I understand they're playing up against my team, the Miami Dolphins, but the Dolphins did struggle with scoring in that game up against the Rams. So I'm not saying Tua's going to play bad in this one. I think he plays up to the occasion, but the Arizona Cardinals defense did look very good last week up against Russell Wilson. 2 sacks, 3 INTs, and 34 points allowed. Week 8, the Rams defense up against the Miami Dolphins had 1 sack, 2 fumble recoveries, and 22 points allowed. The Dolphins offense wasn't really doing all that much in this game. Tua made multiple passes that did not look very good at all and could have resulted in interceptions. So in that sense, the Dolphins got kind of lucky with the kind of luck of the game, the luck of the draw, where the ball just doesn't bounce the wrong way. It just goes just a little too far away for these guys to make these interceptions. And Tua's a young fucking player. This was his first ever game last week, second ever game here up against the Arizona Cardinals. So I'm not saying that Tua's going to play like complete dick and throw 5 interceptions, but there's a much worse defenses to go ahead and look at this week than the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals defense has looked pretty solid thus far this season, and I think that Tua might end up making a mistake that results in an INT or just fumble it again because, I mean, the Arizona Cardinals don't have Aaron Donald. But Tua kind of looked a bit scared back there at some points in the game. But I think as the season goes on, he'll look much better at that. But for right now, up against the Arizona Cardinals, I'd like them a decent amount this week. Next team, in the same fucking game, the Miami Dolphins at the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals have been turning over the ball a decent amount as of recently. Kyler Murray's been throwing an average 2 INTs a game down the stretch. Early in the season, this guy was just dissecting defenses like he was a fucking scientist in a laboratory. But recently, he's been playing not so hot. I mean, he's playing very fucking good football, right? There's no joke that Kyler Murray's playing bad, but he is making some errors in his throws that result in INTs. Week 8, the Miami Dolphins Dolphins up against the LA Rams. The defense was humming in this matchup. 2 sacks, 2 INTs, 2 fumble recoveries, 1 touchdown, 17 points allowed. The Dolphins defense was on fire. And if you got special team points last week, they probably scored even more points because they took a kick to his house, to the cribbo, like Josh Cribbs. Week 7, the Seattle Seahawks played up against the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals were on bye last week, so they obviously did not have a game. In that game, Seattle up against Arizona. 1 INT happened for the Seattle Seahawks, 1 fumble recovery, and 27 points allowed. Now, I know that's not going to go out there and make you scream for fucking ice cream wanting to pick up the Miami Dolphins defense, but to be quite frankly, the Seattle Seahawks defense sucks fucking cock. They are so bad. There's a reason why their games are so high scoring. It's because they are getting pushed back, and Russell Wilson has to cook them up a W like their name was Jameis Winston. So that's what they have to do. They have to come back in the game. That's the reason why the let Russ cook movement is a thing. Let Russ cook because they're behind, and he has to win the game for them. So the Seattle Seahawks defense not playing so hot up against the Arizona Cardinals should not really concern you at all, because the Miami Dolphins defense is much better, and we saw that this week up against the Rams when they absolutely ate the Rams offense for breakfast. Final defense to add this week, again, if you guys have ended up enjoying, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below, is the Atlanta Falcons versus the Denver Broncos. Week 8, the Falcons defense up against the Carolina Panthers had 3 sacks, 1 INT, and 17 points allowed. The Atlanta Falcons defense is bad. Plain and fucking simple. I understand that, but they've actually looked much better as a unit. What you talking about, unit? Suck my unit from that one movie that made 0 sense in the term of this. That was from Tropic Thunder. Suck my unit. Quite the funny joke if you understood it, but it was poorly implemented into the video, so I apologize for that. But week 8, the Falcons defense actually played good up against Carolina. Denver's offense is so hit or miss. Week 8, the Chargers defense, who just bent over and died and said, "Daddy Drew Lock, just fucking rail me into the night," and that's what happened. They let Drew Lock spit roast him. 2 sacks, 1 INT, 31 points allowed. That's not going to happen here, in my opinion, against the Falcons. Drew Lock is the most confusing quarterback to assess, because this guy will make a play and it looks like the worst throw you've ever seen, and then through some magic, hocus pocus type deal, Harry Potter, and it just lands in someone's hands. I don't think they'll get as lucky this week, and I think the Falcons defense looks very good. These are I forgot to say this at the beginning of the video, but these are in order of my importance of who to pick up. So number 1 was the Patriots, and at number 6 is the Atlanta Falcons. So make sure you guys understand that, if you made it all the way through the video, that's why they are in this order. So thank you guys all for watching the video. Again, if you ended up enjoying, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Make sure you guys check out drafters.com, code Notorious at checkout. I would really appreciate that. I love each and every single one of you guys. Let's have fun watching Monday Night Football tonight. I love you all. Good boy.